Have you ever noticed that the most brilliant people you know are rarely in charge, that the true geniuses, the deep thinkers, the visionaries, almost always remain on the sidelines while ordinary individuals, sometimes even mediocre ones, occupy positions of power? There's a hidden reason for this, and it's going to shake everything you believe about success, leadership, and the very nature of power itself. We live in a collective illusion. We were taught from childhood that merit wins, that intelligence triumphs, that competence is rewarded. We look at the top of the social pyramid and expect to find the wisest, the most capable, the most visionary. But when you really observe, when you remove the blindfold from your eyes, what do you see? Ordinary people, leaders who repeat cliches, executives who follow manuals, politicians who read teleprompters, and you ask yourself, how did we get here? The answer isn't in conspiracy theories or corrupt systems. The truth is much deeper and more disturbing. It lies in human nature itself and in the invisible rules that govern the rise to power. Let me take you on an uncomfortable journey. Think about the great thinkers of history. Socrates, who challenged Athens with his questions and was sentenced to death. Galileo, who saw beyond comfortable lies and was persecuted. Van Gogh, who saw beauty where no one else did and died in misery. Nikola Tesla, a genius who revolutionized the world and ended his days alone in a hotel room. What do they all have in common? None of them governed. None of them commanded corporate empires. None of them had political power. Why? Because extraordinary people are dangerous to systems that depend on predictability. Here's the truth no one wants to admit. Mediocrity isn't an accident of the system, it's a fundamental feature of it. Human systems, whether political, corporate, or social, weren't designed to promote excellence. They were designed to promote stability, and stability requires conformity. It requires that you don't make waves, don't question too much, don't think too differently. Mediocrity is safe. Mediocrity is predictable. Mediocrity doesn't threaten the status quo. Plato knew this over 2,000 years ago. In the Republic, he imagined a world governed by philosopher kings, the wisest and most just. But he also recognized something dark. True wise men don't want to govern. They're too busy seeking truth, creating beauty, exploring mysteries. Power attracts those who desire it, not those who deserve it, and who desires power above all else. Rarely are they the most competent. They're the most ambitious, the most willing to play the game, the most skilled at navigating politics and hierarchies. Think about how someone reaches the top in any organization. It's not just about being good at what you do. It's about being visible, about pleasing the right people, about not making powerful enemies, about knowing when to speak and when to stay silent. It's a game of perception, not substance. And truly brilliant people are often terrible at this game. Why? Because they care too much about truth, about accuracy, about doing the right thing instead of the politically convenient thing. They say what they think when they should smile and agree. They point out problems when they should celebrate superficial successes. But here's what's really going to disturb you. We, as a society, choose this. Not consciously, of course. But through thousands of small collective decisions, we've created systems that filter out excellence and promote mediocrity. How? Through the principle that Canadian psychologist Lawrence J. Peter called the Peter Principle. In a hierarchy, every person tends to be promoted until they reach their level of incompetence. Someone is good as a salesperson. Promote them to manager. Good as a manager. Promote them to director. Continue until they reach a position where they're no longer competent, and there they stay, eternally incompetent, blocking the path for those below. But there's something even more insidious happening. It's called reverse selection. In competitive environments, especially in large organizations, the people who rise aren't necessarily the most competent, but the most willing to sacrifice everything for advancement. They work longer hours, not because they're more productive, but because they want to be seen working. They flatter superiors, not because they admire them, but because they understand the game. They avoid creative risks that could revolutionize the company, preferring small, visible, and safe successes. And slowly, year after year, these players rise while the true innovators, the divergent thinkers, the questioners, are left behind or leave frustrated. Now you might be thinking, but what about the great visionary leaders? What about Steve Jobs? What about Elon Musk? What about those who reached the top and changed the world? Here's the crucial detail. They're extremely rare exceptions, and almost all of them had to create their own systems outside traditional hierarchies. Jobs was fired from the very company he founded. Musk was constantly questioned and ridiculed. They didn't climb a standard corporate ladder. They broke the game and created a new one. And even so, observe how many of them face constant resistance, how many are called crazy, difficult, impossible to work with. Why? Because mediocre systems don't tolerate disruptive excellence. Let me ask you a question that will cut deeper. Have you ever felt that you're more capable than your superiors, that you have better ideas, that you see solutions they can't perceive? If you're being honest with yourself, the answer is probably yes. And this isn't arrogance. It's the reality lived by millions of intelligent and competent people who observe questionable decisions being made above them every day. But here's the cruel part. If you think this way, if you question too much, if you don't learn to play the game, you'll never get there. The system will keep you where you are because you're dangerous. You think too much. You question too much. You're not mediocre enough to be safe. If this idea has already resonated with you, imagine what comes next. Subscribe so you don't miss this journey, because what I'm about to reveal will completely change your perspective on power and leadership. Philosopher Hannah Arendt studied the totalitarian regimes of the 20th century and discovered something terrifying. It wasn't evil geniuses who created history's greatest horrors. It was mediocre bureaucrats following orders, climbing the hierarchy, focused on their careers. Adolf Eichmann, the logistical architect of the Holocaust, wasn't a brilliant monster. He was an ordinary bureaucrat, concerned with efficiency and promotions. Arendt called this the banality of evil. Evil doesn't need geniuses. It thrives on obedient mediocrity. And this pattern repeats on a smaller scale in every organization. It's not visionaries who cause corporate stagnation. It's middle managers competent enough to keep their jobs, but not enough to transform anything. It's political leaders who say what polls dictate, not what they believe. It's executives who maximize next quarter's profit while the company loses its soul and purpose. Mediocrity is comfortable. Mediocrity doesn't ask difficult questions. Mediocrity keeps the machine running even when the machine is taking us toward the precipice. But there's an even deeper secret that few know. The reason mediocrity dominates isn't just because systems favor it. It's because we, as individuals, secretly prefer it. Yes, you read that right. Let me explain. Truly extraordinary leaders are uncomfortable to follow. They demand more from you. They challenge your assumptions. They push you beyond your comfort zone. They don't let you be mediocre, and that's terrifying for most people. A mediocre leader keeps you comfortable. He sets achievable goals. He doesn't force you to grow painfully. He allows you to remain where you are, do the bare minimum, not be confronted with your own mediocrity. Think about your own choices. When you had to choose between a demanding and visionary boss who would make you grow but take you out of comfort, and a mediocre boss who would leave you alone, which did you choose? Be honest. Most of us, most of the time, choose comfort. And then we complain that the world is governed by mediocrities, without realizing that we voted for them, we promoted them, we preferred them, because they allow us to continue being who we are without the pain of transformation. Philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche had a brutal concept for this: the last man. A humanity that chooses comfort over greatness, security over risk, tranquil mediocrity over painful excellence. And when an entire society makes this choice, its leaders reflect exactly that. It's not the best who reach the top. It's those who best represent our collective desire not to be bothered, not to have to change, not to face uncomfortable truths. Here's the final revelation, the truth that will both liberate and torment you. The world isn't governed by mediocrities by accident or conspiracy. It's governed by mediocrities because that's what most of us, deep down, unconsciously want. We want leaders who make us feel good about our own mediocrity. We want systems that allow us to rise without real excellence. We want organizations where we can be mediocre and still comfortable. But you, who have come this far on this journey, you're no longer the majority. You've seen the truth, and now you have a choice. You can accept this system and play the game of mediocrity, climbing slowly, sacrificing your uniqueness, becoming exactly what you criticize. Or you can take the harder path, refuse to play the game, build something of your own. Accept that you may never have the power that mediocrities have, but you'll have something infinitely more valuable. Your integrity, your vision, your soul intact. The true geniuses of history didn't govern, but they changed the world in ways no mediocre ruler ever could. They lived and died for their truths. They didn't trade their uniqueness for approval. And in the end, they're the ones who remained in memory, who transformed human consciousness, who left real legacies. So, the question isn't why the world is governed by mediocrities. The question is, what will you do with this knowledge? Will you fight to be one more at the top of the mediocre pyramid, or will you build a new pyramid with your own rules, where excellence isn't punished but celebrated? The choice has always been yours. Mediocrity is easy, it's safe, it's the path of least resistance. Greatness is lonely, it's painful, it's the path that few have the courage to walk. If this message touched something deep in you, if you recognized in yourself this struggle between conforming and transcending, then do something radical, like this video, not for algorithms, but as a commitment to yourself that you choose the harder path. Comment below what mediocre decision you're going to refuse to make this week. And subscribe to this channel because this journey of awakening and transformation is only beginning. Share this message with someone you know is trapped in the cage of mediocrity, waiting for permission to fly. That permission won't come from above. It can only come from within, and it begins now.